Okay. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so we're starting off on
Progress.
and yourselves. Thanks very much. And we're starting off on a whole brand new day. Today we're definitely better off today than we were yesterday. And it's the general rule that every single day things are going to get better than they were on previous days, because that's how it works. And so it's yeah, every single day things get better. Let's talk about why things are better. So the first reason is that what we have now is we have stronger airstrikes going on in Gaza, which is putting Hamas up against the ropes. It's making it harder for Hamas to operate. It's making it harder for Hamas to strike back. We're not watching as many rockets flying out, and that's because it takes a while to get your head out in the open when you're being bombed like that, and you're not crossing the border because you're being bombed and the border is being closed. So in that sense, things are really looking up. Um, and the military victory is clear. It's obvious that we're going to win this militarily. We're much stronger than Hamas. The question obviously is what it's going to take to win, and how long it's going to take, and that becomes the ultimate question. The general conventional knowledge is that Israel only has a limited amount of time to go ahead and fight this battle before the world's patience gives up. What's going to happen is as the images come out from Gaza, you're going to see the bodies that have died, that Israel has killed these members of Hamas, and then there's going to be the civilian deaths, and there's going to be, unfortunately, deaths of children. And those images are going to be broadcast around the world, right? Palestinians have a great skill set at sending out images of their own dead bodies, even faking pictures. Like there's a whole Hollywood type of industry out in Gaza, which fakes death and destruction. There is real death and destruction, don't get me wrong, but also just to make it horrific and get the world's mercy on their side in order to pressure Israel to stop. So usually Israel only has a couple of days before world opinion flips against it and forces it to stop bombarding and fighting. How long Israel has in this case, nobody knows. I'd like to think that Israel is going to have more leeway than ever before. That's what I'd like to think, that because of how horrific and barbaric the attacks against Israel were, I'd like to think that Israel is going to have more time. Maybe it gets a couple of weeks, maybe it gets more, but I don't know. But what Israel has to take into calculation is that it's not going to have an unlimited amount of time for this operation before world powers start telling it, hey, you've got to stop, and you got to rein in and de-escalate and try to figure out a way out of this. Israel's goal is to get rid of Hamas completely. So if it's going to do this, it's going to have to do it fast, quick, and ferociously in order to get rid of all Hamas in a short amount of time. Whether that's possible, and while also making sure to have the hostages freed, is that's a big challenge. That's going to be very, very difficult. So I don't know. That's the balance. The good news yesterday is that Secretary of State Blinken came and gave a very, very inspirational talk. From what I understand, the meetings went very well. They went very long, and they were very productive. And very a lot of support for what Israel needs. I think that's clear that's coming from the Biden administration, and we should be grateful for that. Um, one interesting thing, two interesting points. One is Israel's decision to release pictures of the victims, especially of babies. There's a whole movement out there, especially online, to sort of say like, no, it's not true that the babies were beheaded and that level of cruelty was shown and babies were burnt to death and babies were shot at point blank. And so it's amazing that this is like the conversation. A lot of people are making this point online, and it's an incredibly important point to make. It's really amazing. It's like more babies were killed, but they weren't decapitated. Like that's too far. That's Israel's lying about that. So first of all, it turns out Israel released the evidence to show that they weren't lying, so that everybody could see. But like it's amazing that the world would accept that the Palestinians, Hamas Palestinians went in and killed babies. Yeah, but you can't, if you exaggerate and say that they were beheaded, then as if it's okay that they would kill babies. But killing babies okay, as long as they didn't decapitate them. So that's like, it's almost like an incredibly like ridiculous type of thing, that debate that we're having online about whether or not the babies were really decapitated or not. So Israel releases the photos of dead babies now. You can see that they burnt the babies to death and that they decapitated them, and a horrific notion. And what we're really looking for here from the world is, and we're having it, we're getting it, is a sense of moral clarity, that we can tell the world, listen, this is very clear here, what is right, and which side is right, and which side is just evil. And this isn't a two sides to the story type of thing. And the world needs to have the moral clarity to be able to say, look, the Palestinians were evil, and maybe are evil, and therefore they lose the ability to demand things. That's a very important step the world's got to take, that the Palestinians can no longer come to the table and say, we demand the following. We demand Jerusalem. We demand a right of return. We demand, but no, you don't get to make demands now, because what you've done is you've crossed the line, and now we see who you really are. So that's important, and I think that goes to the fear that a lot of people have. I know a lot of people on this call have, which of this day of rage that Hamas has asked for, a day of rage, a day of jihad, where people can go ahead and people around the world are scared of what could happen to them, because the Hamas has said that Muslims around the world should commit acts of violence against Israelis, and I think that's it speaks to who we're fighting against. We're fighting against a people that have no morals. They have no morals, no moral clarity, no understanding of right and wrong, no understanding what it means to be civilized, and what it means to be a person in a modern society that requires people to act in a dignified way and a refined way. And but it has to become clear to the world that the calculation that used to take place, which I think was wrong anyway, which was that if you are weak, then you deserve the world's support. And if you're powerful, you deserve the world's condemnation. That's how the world would approach Israel. And I think that was a false veneer. I think that what that really was just anti-Semitism cloaked in progressive talk. Because it didn't apply to anybody else. It only applied to Israel. But now I think that we have to take a different calculation, which is that it's not about powerful and weak. It's about right and wrong, and about who takes things to levels of brutality, savagery, that forfeits the ability to be able to say that I deserve something from the world now. The world has to look at this and say that this is so despicable, so outside the realm of acceptability, that you've now given up. So I think that's true. One sad development, unfortunately, is that the funerals have begun in earnest. Judaism has, and halacha has a requirement for burials as quick as possible. In Israel, that usually means same day of death is the day of burial. We're accustomed to going to funerals at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. That's not out of the norm here. We don't schedule a funeral for a day or two later. And the fact that funerals have taken so long, burials have taken so long, only speaks to how many bodies there are and how difficult it has been to get them out of Gaza. So the funerals have begun, and that's tough. It's tough. The images of constant funerals we're going to be having in the beginning of next week. We're going to be having a couple hundred funerals at a time. That's going to be very, very challenging. Okay, so we'll stop here in terms of my briefing and take questions. So if there are questions, you can put them in the chat, and maybe you won't have questions. Maybe we'll have an early Friday. But if anybody has any questions, now would be the time to put them in, and we'll go. I see there's no questions. The first time, no questions. Okay, so we'll give it about a minute, and if there's no questions, then we'll just end the briefing here and wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Okay, no questions. Everybody knows. Okay, so we'll stop here. Everybody should have a Shabbat Shalom, and let's hope for peace. I'm sure a lot of you saw what I wrote on social media in terms of the halachos of Shabbat here are different this weekend. We're supposed to carry our phones around with us. Most of us already have been carrying guns around on Shabbat, so that's nothing new. But to carry a phone, this will be the first time ever that I've carried a phone on Shabbat, and it speaks to the level of security that we're having here, and making sure that we're not attacked, and then if we are attacked, we know how to protect ourselves. Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Thank you.
Wait, hold on. Oh, okay, the last second question here. Didn't Hamas post the atrocities? Why would people think Jews are like, say, it's really incredible, right? It's a great question. The question is, didn't Hamas post the atrocities themselves? So why would people think that Jews in Israel are lying if Hamas themselves posted the pictures? They gleefully, these disgusting barbarians committed atrocities and took the phones of their victims and broadcast them live as they did it. And that speaks to just how moral clarity is lacking in this world, that people are able to sit and say that even when the perpetrators of the atrocities go ahead and say they did it, the world is going to come to the defense of the Palestinians and come against Israel, come against the Jewish people and say they did it. Black and white. And now it becomes obvious why people can deny the Holocaust, because if you can deny something that happened 2 days before, where the perpetrator is admitting to the crime, and people are, still people are willing to come to the defense. It's amazing. There are people marching in the streets. It's incredible. Can you imagine? They're marching in the streets in support of killing children. That's the world we live in. That's the lack of moral clarity. That's, I said, there has to be a level of moral clarity now, where the world comes together and says that we can no longer accept the previous calculation of powerful, weak. We have to stand up for the weak and stand against the powerful. That calculation has to change. It has to change to now moral, immoral. Which one do we go for? We have to stand with the moral people. That has to be it. But what we're watching is enough people, mirroring the waters and saying, well, it's too hard to tell what's moral, what's not moral. The way we're going to define what's moral is by powerful versus weak. We'll keep going back to that. But again, it's all veneer for anti-Semitism. Okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll start. I didn't give people too much notice. I was doing the briefing. So I don't have as many people as we normally do, and don't have our big questionnaires here. Okay, so stop here, for real this time, and Shabbat Shalom, everybody.